Ladies and gentlemen of the crypto space, we're live on a Friday, March 14th at 11:38 a.m. Very simple title to the stream. Are your expectations reasonable? Now, that's not an easy thing to have reasonable expectations. Most folks have the contrary, unreasonable expectations. Now, my 2 cents, my opinions coming from me, I'm older. I've been through a lot. I've been in industry for 15 years. I don't know. We'll take it for what it's worth. But my opinion is time doesn't matter much. I'm I execute in no way ever rushing. I am the most patient human being on the planet. So I execute on ultra long term time frames, which is quite often mistaken with the concept of hodling. Um, and that is not what I do. So last night, last night I posted this, and it was not received very well. But it's a very classic statement that I say, um, clearly including the well-known "fuck you, pay me" clause. Um, so if you look long term, let's break this down, including considerations. 100x 90% retrace, that's a 10x. Another 100x and a 90% retrace. So 100x on a 10x is 1000x, and then a 90% retrace is 100x. 100x, good game, game over. So what does that mean? How long? Who cares? I don't care. And I started this game in my 30s. I don't care if I have to wait to 40 or 50. The whole point of capital management is a plan. You execute a plan to achieve an outcome. And the outcome most reasonable, at least reasonable expectations, is the concept of retirement, or the concept of you put your time in working and you're like, all right, at some point I don't want to work. When? It's not right now, but at some point I don't want to work. So how do I get there? So 100x after years in industry sets the stage for just that. At some point it's not working as much or working differently or just having that freedom to make the choice of what to do and when to do it. Now, clearly, this doesn't work with $100. You have just $100, you're broke. You have just $100, you didn't work in industry or pursue a career, or when you pursue a career, if you're not taught, should have been, or at least should have tried to escalate said career, which means you go from job to job to job. Now, I try and teach this to my kids, and I kind of did it unknowingly. And in hindsight, I'm like, okay, that makes sense why I did what I did. I mean, it's a very simple premise. So I graduated college in '06, 2006, and I didn't do shit for like 2 years. I did pizza delivery with an engineering degree because there was nothing. It was literally '06, right before '08. It's literally no work. So, but then I started to get jobs probably in 2010, about 4 years later. So this plays into my ultra long term time thesis. I graduated college, and for 4 years, it was bullshit. Aside from the fact that it was not very happy, I was not very happy. Um, uh, all my conclusions nowadays draw from hindsight. Like, sure, it makes sense. Graduated with an engineering degree and naive as fuck, thinking the world owed me something, or that I could change the world. That's not the way it works. So 4 years later, I finally started getting jobs, and between 2010 and 2020, literally have to sit down and count how many jobs I had. Now, I've talked to cousins at times about this. It applies to most industries, especially food service. Um, like waiter, waitress, which goes to more of a manager, which goes to possibly even concepts like district manager or strategic management positions, because that's all about experience. And so, these are more practical um, experience stories. This is not crypto, but it's relevant because we started with $100 doesn't do shit. It means you broke. So what does that mean? That means one, you can't start with $100. Two, you need to excel at a career, which means you have to figure out how to excel at a career. So between 2010 and 2020, I worked in so many jobs. It must have been like 8 different jobs. And then I started doing contracting like in 2018. So that was, I don't even know, that was like 6 or 8 different contracts with different companies. So working is a hustle. Let me, as much as you can enjoy work, which I do, I enjoy my current employer. I am quite proud of what I do. But it's important to bifurcate everything between different components of how to understand things. What do I mean by that? I enjoy my work. I enjoy my company. I enjoy my coworkers. But what is work? No one at the office tell anyone I said this. Work is a capacity to convince someone to give you money to do something that they cannot do. It's a philosophical concept, and that applies to every industry. So how do you convince someone to pay you to do something they can't do? Either you know something they don't know, or leverage. So leverage is another story entirely. That's like business negotiations and relationships. But knowing something they don't is a classic example of a tradesperson. The plumber comes into the house and the homeowner says, "My boiler is not working." The plumber goes down to the boiler and presses the big red button, or the button of many buttons, let's say, to turn on the boiler, and charges $1,000. And the homeowner says, $1,000 to press a button? No. The plumber says it was $1 to press the button and $999 to know what button to press. Knowledge is power, knowledge is leverage. Never get complacent. It's the best advice I could give to young people, and especially in their 20s. In fact, recognize the hustle and be ferocious. Resume is social media, literally just a story to convince someone to employ you. And there's a fine line between fabricating a resume and, not embellishing. It's not. Walk the walk, talk the talk. The CEO walked and talked like a CEO before he was a CEO. So he carried himself as such. So if you say you can do something, step up and execute. And in that regard, you're able to push the boundaries of actual experience into the realm of what you want to do, and two, what you can do given the right circumstance. So the resume is a bit of an art, bit of a skill, and nowadays with AI, what the fuck? You don't have to fabricate shit. Just, take where you are and push it to the next level, not to an insane level. We're talking about reasonableness here, ladies and gentlemen. So you push it. How do you get so it's, you know, I don't have the practical experience because of my engineering career, but I've done food service and I've done waitering. And I can only imagine applying my path to waitering. So you work at one restaurant and you're getting, $4 an hour, and plus, and you're running on tips. Then you work at another restaurant and you negotiate 6, and you're like, all right, maybe they didn't want to do 6, they wanted to do 5. Okay, so that's why you go to 20 different restaurants. And that's why you arbitrage geographic regions and you relocate as possible. And you do it. You execute and you do not stop until you go to the next step. And then you get $8 an hour plus tips. And then maybe head waiter. There's crazy waiters out there. The steakhouses, those steakhouses aren't paying those motherfuckers $8 an hour. And who gives a crap if you make it $800 a day in tips? So the steakhouses get paid big bucks for highly skilled wait staff. So you can literally make a career out of anything. When I go to the steakhouse with the family, and not just myself, but the immediate family, like 8 people, let's say, when the tip's $150 off, it's 25% on a $600 bill, and you're talking about 8 people in the family, so it's not like it's an 80 buck dinner, give or take. But the waiter just got 150 for that table, and you're doing 5 tables a night at least. So these make excellent salaries, just escalating one's career as much as possible. So this all comes back to the point: you're not going anywhere if you're investing $100. So you need to figure out your other shit first. You need to figure out adulting first in order to reach your expectations. And those expectations still, after killing it in industry and still investing reasonably, still have to be reasonable. Your expectations have to be reasonable. You invest 10 grand, don't expect to make $100 million. What's reasonable on 10 grand? All right, fine. $1 million is reasonable. Over what time frame? A time frame. Over a reasonable time frame. These are reasonable expectations over a reasonable time frame. Period. Not off $100. Okay, so maybe I'm harping on the $100 a little too much. That's unreasonable. So anyway, that was my thought this morning. So many folks are unreasonable. What's a story I could tell? I sit in the sauna and there's other people there because it's a public sauna. And I have all these conversations with folks. Some of them, and it's ironic. I mean, I guess I'm in a historic swing state. It's South Florida. So it's gone blue, it's gone red. I tend to lean conservative, but conservative doesn't mean I align with a particular political party. I don't give a shit about that. I care about my opinions. And I am the most reasonable human being on this planet. So, but I lean conservative, financially conservative, socially conservative. I'm not religious, but I sure as hell have talked to you guys about like Ten Commandments and ethics and morality and stuff like that. So I have these conversations in the sauna with all sorts of people, folks that hate what Doge is doing, they hate the politics, they can't stand Trump. Talk to other people that are like, oh my God, thank God he's saving everything. Oh, thank God, cut the government in half. Shut the government down. I got folks that literally say, I don't give a fuck what they do with government. I don't want to employ these people anymore because when you're a taxpayer, you're basically an employer. So I don't want to pay. So I got to talk to people that have extremes of opinion on both sides. I talk to everybody. I don't get emotional. I listen to people. So I'm telling you me, but the whole point of telling you me is that it's something to compare to. It is very hard to be neutral. It is very hard to be calm and reasonable. So while I tell you the story about the sauna and the types of conversations I have, all of that is applicable to capital management. You are going through all of these emotions, all this anxiety, all of this um, fear, uncertainty, and doubt with regard to what to buy and when to buy and how to buy. And it's very overwhelming. So some of the biggest takeaways I've had over the years is capital management is actually kind of simple. It's just buy shit at a cheap price, cheapest price possible. And unless it's invalidated, you bought it. Just wait 8 years, wait 10 years. And over 10 years, you're in industry, you have a career, buy more shit. You go to Best Buy and you buy shit anyway. So instead of buying shit, buy shit that's likely to go up in value and pay you, as I highlight the most critical characteristic of any asset you own. Fuck you. Pay me. For the entirety of the context, you want me to invest in your company? You want me to buy your crypto token? How much are you paying weekly? 0%, but I expect my crypto token to go to the moon, up 10,000%. And I would say, I don't give a shit. Fuck you. Pay me. How much are you paying? Because if you're paying well, token's going to go up in price anyway. That's the name of the game. So, for instance, how long? I don't care because it's paying. Now, obviously, none of this works with $100. So do it with more than $100. So you do it with 10 grand and you're making 30% of the money. You're making 3 grand a year. You want more money? Buy more shit. You do it with 100 grand, you're making 30 grand a year. 100 grand turns into 80 grand. It's a shit market. It turns into 50 grand. It's a really shit market. But let's say in 30% on 100 grand, you're making 30 grand a year. And the 100 grand becomes 50 grand, and the 30 grand turns into 15 grand. You invested 100 grand, you're making 15 grand a year, and everything's crashing. You're making 15 grand a year. So guess what? Over what time frame does the well chosen investments reinflate? 50 grand turns into 75, turns into 125, turns into 300 over a 4 year period. So you invested 100 grand, it's worth 300, 400, 500,000 over years. Slow, methodical chess moves over long time frames. You don't want the value of what you own to go down, but it's going to. It's going to go down. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. It's going to go up. It's going to drive you nuts unless you reprogram your brain to think about all this stuff a little bit differently. Cares what the value is. You bought something and it pays you, and that's what matters. What it pays you is going to go down, is going to go up. So you get the same thing. Now you just get it from both ends, so to speak. It goes down, it goes up. You make more money, you got prosperity. You make less money, you got austerity, which basically means you make more money, you could spend shit. If you make less money, you could spend less. And this is all super duper simple. More money you do it with, the more money you make in a salary, the more bigger the pizza shop you own. Anywho, a little bit of ranting and raving. I don't mean to be cynical or have a negative tone. I guess it's just that kind of day. Last night was that kind of night. So Sheldon, no, that's not how it works. $100 does not turn into $1 million. Um, sorry, George. Good morning. We're so back. We never left. We were back. We were never gone. A market is a market. Thinking in terms of black and white, gone and here, up and down. The majority of people do that. The majority of people are wrong. The majority of people fail. The majority of people never succeed. The majority of people never meet their expectations and define wildly egregious, unreasonable expectations. Whatever the majority do the opposite. Cycles or your cycles. Who cares? It's irrelevant. Market goes up, market goes down. In between the cycles. When's the end of the cycle? Stop thinking in terms of end of the cycle. When's the top? Stop thinking in terms of top. Stop thinking in terms of bottoms because it does no one good. It is an unsustainable and arguably unreasonable methodology for capital management. That's why I devised the rules. The funny thing is, I always say rule number one. And there's a couple of solid rules, rule number one, two, three, so on and so forth. But I always say like rule number one, and then I'll come out and say, and rule number one is, and I have a lot of rule number ones. I always get a kick out of that because that happens a lot when I'm talking rule number one. But rule number one is really own more assets. Rule number two is know when to stop buying assets. You can't always buy assets. You don't always have enough money. And sometimes the market is expensive. So you don't want to buy expensive assets. You want to buy cheap assets. Rule number three is clearly fuck you, pay me. And that's it. So notice how cycle top and cycle bottom aren't really a component of the rules, yet they're expressed in the rules. You want to buy assets as cheap as possible. Clearly, don't buy them when the market is expensive and it's closer to cycle top, of which when the hell is cycle top? So these are very subjective statements, cycle top. I mean, you could have data that backs up an argument, but the point is, no one knows because there's so many external factors, which means it's all irrelevant, which means all the emotion that comes from, oh, is the market going to dump? It's irrelevant. Turn it off. How do you turn it off? By focusing and concentrating and being a goddamn monk. And what do monks do? They train their mind, focus, meditate, have clarity, and you're able to, over time, suppress responses. So discern between what is good behavior versus what is unsustainable behavior, or what is a good way of thinking versus what is an unsustainable way of thinking. Hope that helps. I did the deepest philosophical dive into We're So Back. I hope that helps, George. Sir Joe present. A pleasure, Mateo. Good morning, Cal. Pleasure to be here. Welcome, welcome, Fuku. Good morning, Cal. I am live. 11:39. I got to you 21 minutes later. I mean, I'm not reading people's comments in real time, but I do everyone's comments. That's why I have so much fun with the stream. It's mostly a question and answer session. Notice how the title of the stream is Q&A with the captain. So, George, thank you. Cal, cool. Had a couple of moonshines. Moonshines. Yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you? Athletic concept. Always a pleasure. Can you explain why you call stocks boomer meme coins? Because you print the token, which takes 5 seconds. Then you'll get pumped out funds. It literally takes 10 seconds to print a token. Now, clearly, with regard to stocks on the market, that's not the same process as the whole IPO, the whole bankers, but the point is, once it's live and you go to fidelity.com and or whatever, and you put in a ticker, damn meme coin. It is literally a meme coin. What does the price of that token have to do with anything about the company? It's an expression of people's sentiment about the company. If the token's expensive, it allows the company to dump on you and dilute the shareholders. A fucking joke. Now, there's a difference between boomer meme coins and decent REITs, real estate investment trusts. So the rules of the real estate investment trust is the vast majority of their revenues need to be paid out. So it's by design a cash flow instrument. So those aren't boomer meme coins. The only hesitation I have to excessive interest in them is how shit they pay. If you can't write, what here? Realty Income Corporation. I always bring them up because they're literally the pinnacle of a REIT with regard to duration. They have they run on what's called net lease, so everything is leased to all big brands that are just going to continue to exist, and they do it the same 20, 30-year leases or whatever it is. What's their yield? 5%? 5, 5.77%. Okay, so do the calculation. If you want to make $57,000 a year before tax with Realty Income Corporation, how much do you have to own? $1 million. Well, that seems kind of stupid. That doesn't work. Who the fuck has an extra $1 million? And who would isolate that much capital to a single REIT? So you need to concentrate capital. And is Realty Income Corporation with a market cap of $50 billion going to go 10x on the money? So if you put 10 grand in, and does it turn into 500 grand? No. And then if it does, they're going to be paying less yield per share. So it's a non-starter. So while I still recognize that this isn't a boomer meme coin, it's actual cash flow paying instrument based on very well recognized here portfolio, very well recognized clients who lease the property, the realty, the real estate. It's a shit investment, barring appropriate position size. Well, obviously, you throw $1 million in, you're making 50 grand. You want to make a $500,000 a year in salary, you need $10 million. So that's kind of a non-starter. So that's why crypto space is quite a different playing field, especially when you're talking about like 5, 10, 50, $50 million market cap businesses generating 10, 20, 30% returns. Because if it's a 50 mil market cap business and it goes up to 500 mil, you're talking about 500 mil. Realty Income Corporation is 50 bill. The capitalization of boomer shit compared to this nascent crypto space is extraordinary. So what's the takeaway? The takeaway is the potential for these crypto protocols, which are fintech businesses, is extraordinary growth compared to anything I could possibly think of in boomer meme coin or boomer cash flow land. Because that's the shortcoming. That's why the narrative isn't out there as I express it, because I'm one of the earliest, if not the strongest, um, conversationalists of crypto in terms of fintech businesses, balance sheets, value, cash flow, because it's businesses. Except these businesses don't fuck you over and pay you 5% of the money, because who gives a fuck about 5% of the money? You do it, and this is where I go back to uh, that basically here. 5% does shit, and where's the stock price going to go? So if you want me to invest, you can pay me money, pay me good money, pay me big money. Otherwise, you're not getting any money. So, and it just so happens that's perfect for crypto, because crypto is really fighting for money, because most people don't understand it from their ass from their elbow, yet alone in terms of businesses and balance sheets and value investing standpoints. So it that makes it that the space have that much more opportunity. Um, George, so it's still about a 100x, but earn some. Yes, that's the whole point. But 100x is insane. You work your ass off in industry. Come on, you got 10 grand. The odds are you got probably 100. You work 10 years in industry, you got 100 grand somewhere. I mean, 10 years, literally a 401k stacking away, 5%. And dare there be like an employer match of 3%? You're stacking away 10, 15 grand a year, and plus the employer match, and you do it for 10 years. I mean, 10 years. So instead of getting angry at investing, The real thing to be angry about is not doing things sooner. Now, I don't say that in a bubble, meaning I'm not being critical of folks. I started investing late. I didn't really start investing until my mid to late 30s, mid to late 30s. Jesus. I say that to folks. If you're not doing shit in your 20s with your career, like I explained earlier in the stream, you're late. Your 20s is the time for your career. Because when you're in your 30s, and dare I say when you're in your 40s, you're fucking tired and you want to do some different shit. And you want to sit in saunas and buy pools and work on a computer and do streaming, talking, telling stories. So your 20s is your time to work. Uh, so this presents complexities in your 30s if you didn't do it in your 20s. You're in your 30s doing food service and it's just entry level and you haven't escalated. I mean, the day is always today. So that is an overarching requirement and rule. Rule number one: the day is today. To do what? To do it, everything, to do things differently. If you're at a job for more than a couple of years, first off, in my opinion, that will get you nowhere because employers are only going to give you a couple of percent, a couple of percent. Dare they keep up with inflation? So in my 20s, I went from job to job to job to job hustling. It was never personal. It was always business. Now, I didn't really appreciate that until I was older in my late 30s, mid 30s, mid 30s, not late. Um, and that's what led me to leave New York because I could never achieve what I wanted to achieve. I can never meet my expectations in New York, but there's plenty of other states in this country that are much more reasonable and allowed me to achieve most of my expectations. I'm not there. You're never there. You'll never really meet your expectations because you always set new expectations. But at least you have to be on a path to continuously achieving more and more of expectations as they reset over time. Um. Anyway, George, good stuff. Cal, Noah knows me because I have a go at him with his audio. Yes, I don't. Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't care. I got these headphones, bro. I'm not setting up a studio. I talk to It's 171 people. I appreciate all of you guys. That is an enormous number. If you guys were in a room right now, that is an absolutely enormous number of people. I am humbled by it every time, every stream I do. I am grateful. It's just exciting and awesome. But you guys know that's not 10,000 people listening in real time. That's not a million. We are a microscopic microcosm of a mini community of people that dare to think different. So anyway, that's a digression. That just means I'm not buying professional audio equipment. I don't need to because I'm able to meet my expectations with what I have. Must have flew airplanes. Decent thought. Mayday, mayday. Just every day. There, ladies and gentlemen. This is a good statement. You work your ass off every day. I am exhausted and tired and older, and I work my ass off every day. I sit in front of this computer until 5 o'clock. I get my kids. I spend time with my kids. I eat dinner with my kids. I relax with my kids. I end up putting my kids to sleep. Then I go sit in a sauna, which takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours. By the time I'm done, I'm up at 6 a.m. and I'm not done till 9:30 at night. Come home, shower, sit down. It's 10 o'clock. 6 a.m., 10 o'clock. I sit down, I watch an hour of TV. which is not easy, but that's another story because there's mostly shit on TV. But every once in a while, I find a decent sci-fi movie that I like. So I got about an hour to sit down and just hang out, spend some time with my wife and stuff like that. That's it. Day in, day out. Everything changes with when you're a parent. That's another story. But day in, day out, and I work my ass off. Whether I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you, I'm doing stuff at the office for my company, or I'm doing what you guys know about, which I spend a lot of time on legal stuff. I write a lot of documents, which is very complicated stuff, but I'm always doing. There is no excuse not to bust your ass every single day. And then fine, you take off a Sunday and you play some Call of Duty or some shit and relax in some rare way. But the base case to meet any of your expectations is to bust your ass every day. Good stuff, Cal. Don't do leverage. Yeah, I don't do leverage at all. I don't do derivatives at all. In fact, of the five businesses, foreign exchange, credit, derivatives, liability printing, and liquidity financing, I do not do derivatives. Of the five businesses, I only engage with four. I am not interested in derivatives. I'm not interested in leverage. I am interested in rule number one, owning more assets, period. Over time, I will own more assets 10 years from now than I own today. Simple. Being on social media. Well, social media is depends on how you take it. If you're flipping through Instagram and shit like that, uh, that's probably less sophisticated as compared to flipping through a personalized X feed of, or all right, fine, maybe social media is shit unless you have a reasonably trained mind. For instance, my mind. I look through social media and I see the signal and not the noise. I don't give a crap about people's opinions at all. So, but I see the stuff that is an opinion, so I'm able to extract tremendous amounts of tangible information, significant information. It's my news source. So, everything has some shades of color to it with regard to um, usefulness or significance. So, social media has its use if you use it for uh, the best possible reasons. Um, Trevor, hello, hello. What's the tipping point where governments embrace or try and kill crypto? We're already done. It's over. The United States of America is 100% fully engaged with crypto. Uh, it is it's like from 0 to 100 right now. The U.S. government's at 100, um, and it is not. It's talked about by some folks. Sam Kazemian from Frax was talking about it yesterday because he was just out in Washington for a week, and he was trying to express to people what I literally just said. They're at 100. U.S. government is 100. Full steam ahead, six gear, 8,000 RPMs. That is the situation for crypto right now in the United States. Killing it is zero. It's at zero. It's zero. It's done. It was shut off. This is literally when folks should be like, oh my God, look what's going on. Oh my God. Everyone's all sentiment driven by the price of shit. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here giving you guys macroeconomic lessons about the dollar, and I'm like, holy shit, look where we are in the DXY. The DXY looks great. The dollar looks great. We're on the verge of what everyone has been expecting and waiting for years. And everyone's like, oh, it's the 4 year cycle. That gives a fuck about some stupid definition of a 4 year cycle that was more or less 4 or 5 years. Anyway, that's another story. And that's what? The refinancing cycle? Sure as hell isn't the Bitcoin halving because that's a supply and demand equation. That doesn't mean much at all. What matters is the amount of currency supply that can chase after assets. It was always about the debt refinancing, at least since 2008, of which Bitcoin emerged basically around 2008. And it was always about the debt refinancing that caused the liquidity flush out the system So it appeared like it correlated with the Bitcoin halving, but it did as knock-on effect because you would have a liquidity flush going into a supply squeeze. That's why Bitcoin did what it did. But it was never a real correlation. It was always about the amount of dollars chasing the amount of things that could be bought with those dollars, which means literally a crypto bull market is by definition an inflationary cycle. It's just inflation, supply, demand, and balance for these assets. That's all it is. So we are right now at 100 in the United States. We have never seen anything like this. And expectation, decentralized trade, that we underestimate the entrenched power. Well, your second sentence is leaning towards entrenched power. No, it has been turned off. The OCC gave the green light for the United States banking system to deal with crypto as the banks wanted to do. Now, it takes time. I don't know, a year, 2 years, whatever. Who cares? The OCC has stated it. They've all stated it. We passed it, so Trump signed the executive order for the Bitcoin reserve, but now Congress is working on it. All this shit takes time, but basically from 0 to 100, the United States is at 100 with regard to acceptance, and there will be expanding and exploiting the potential of the cryptocurrency space. Now, we've been waiting for this for years. Um, it's quite extraordinary where we've come to right now. I did a small 4-year stake with Curve in the early years, thinking he would be rich. Now, only to find that the founder was selling and buying mansions in Melbourne, Australia. Curve is one of the most extraordinary investments in the entire crypto space. I've never seen a business like Curve. Um, I don't hesitate for a second discussing personal choices of what properties to buy. With such a large quantity of access to CRV tokens, you don't sell them. What you do is you leverage them. You borrow capital against them, basically any which way you can. Because if you got $100 million, $150 million worth of Curve, you can borrow 100 mil. All right, what we do? Curve is heading in a direction where it's going to print the amount of cash flow needed to service the debt. All of that behavior made sense. Plus, it wasn't just for personal consumption, it was for financing continuity of business operations, which got us to where we are, where the Dow is able to finance uh, what they're doing, whatever the corporation's name is. I don't, in Switzerland, I forget it off the top of my head. Um, but they are firing on all cylinders with resupply coming online. I mean, everything is lined up. Like I hoped, and I nothing's certain, but I hope things would be lined up like they are, and it just so happens they are lined up like I've never seen a business like Curve. And I'm thinking in terms of the stock market. I'm thinking in terms of the entire crypto space. There is nothing in the entire crypto space or the stock market that compares to what Curve has built. Curve is literally a forex market, credit market, a liability printer, and has liquidity financing, which is obviously a novel B2B business operation, which is a business. It's not a business that exists in traditional finance. Just so happens it's a B2B business in crypto terms. So I've never seen anything like Curve. Now, when you take the perspective of locking at like $6 or whatever the hell you lock that, that means one very simple thing. You bought at the wrong price. Now, what does that mean coming from a person like me that sees this as probably one of the best investments I've ever seen in my entire life? I bought at the wrong price as well. Now, what folks need to understand is that's a bias. You bought at the wrong price, you're clearly disappointed. For a person that takes all the money that you spent and all the money I spent at $2 and buys it at 41 cents, they have none of that bias. bias is a bit, and it gets in the way of fully digesting things as objectively as possible. And that's what's needed to be a great investor. That's the difference between investing and being a great investor. It's a Warren Buffett type characteristic is how do you get through the emotion and just execute rules? So this chart that most people will see and be like, what the hell is this? Is probably one of the most extraordinary charts I've ever seen. Now, obviously, I look to these levels down at the bottom, and this is wild because folks don't understand. This asset was hyperinflationary for during its inception and for a period of time afterwards. And then we had supply shocks, the convex supply shock. And then we just had 2022 drawdown amidst an inflationary backdrop, because that's literally what the B2B business liquidity financing is. The fact, the fact that this is at this price and not down towards zero, not on a log scale, put on a log scale, and not down towards zero, down all the way down here, or fractions of a penny, is the most insane thing I've ever seen. Folks are misreading the data. The fact that it's stable, not down, is what's extraordinary because that is an expression of acceptance, entrenchment, and adoption. This came out in 2020, late 2020, and we're here in 2025. Fact that we are here right now, and there's how many billions of dollars deposited, and how much software capacity do they have, and literally resupply is about to come online, and CRBUSD has what kind of deposits right now? Have it somewhere. Where the hell? No, not voting. Close. 71 mil. 71 million. So this is think of a small business, a pizza shop. They do a couple $10 million a year in business. This thing has how much PBO? 109 mil. So you can't really compare to a pizza shop. But this is more like a banking institution. It's 109 million dollars in deposits, and people have borrowed $71 million of dollar liabilities. The fact that the dollar liabilities work is the most insane business. I I'm not even going to go into it anymore because I'm not here to shill stuff, but I have no words for what this business is. It's downright awe-inspiring what has been built. Can you do a video or speak about how you think about the XYZ equation and projections on cash flow from incentives, for example, on Curve? How much does it cost? How much is it paying? How likely is it to continue to pay? If you spend the $100,000 and you get a 20% APR, you're making $20,000 a year in revenue. I did this earlier in this stream. If the 100,000 turns into 80, 70, $60,000 and the $20,000 in revenue turns into 15, 10. All right, great. You're making $10,000 a year in revenue. When the cycle turns up and things start to reinflate, you're making 15, you're making 20, 25, 30, 40, $50,000 a year in revenue. And the $100,000 invested is turned into 400, 500, $1 million, or whatever the hell it goes to. Things go up, things go down. Everyone gets lost in the noise and they don't have a high time preference. And they also have too small of positions, which goes into the fact that I was talking about careers and whatnot at the beginning of the stream in the context of expectations. Hope that helps. Peter, hey Cap, hey. What do you think about Frax? Frax is one of the most extraordinary businesses I've ever seen with some of the most insane tech that I've ever seen. Thus far, since Frax's inception, great tech is not always the greatest investment. Now, I've said that many times, and I have my original locked VEFXS from when it launched that went to $40 and it come back down to where it is. And I don't think about it too much other than in it for the tech. It's not a revenue producer. It doesn't produce significant. It will. It has the infrastructure. That's why it's the most insane tech. The potential for it is insane, but it's also sophisticated, which means the vast majority of market actors don't know shit about it, don't understand it, which means it's not necessarily the best investment. So there's a bunch of catch 22s all over the place. What could I say about it? I have exposure to Frax, and I'm very happy that I did what I did and I have what I have. Um, there's other things that are more obvious as decent investments. So, from a tech perspective, it's awe-inspiring. From an investment perspective, there's a bit of opportunity cost. I think that's the best way to say it. No, Manad. Hey, Cap, what do you think about Peter Zeihan's recent video, potential infiltration of Russian intelligence into USA? I like Peter Zeihan. Um, I haven't seen his most recent video. I would not be surprised at all. Um, Get a couple of them having a hard time being rational these days in geopolitical. Yeah, but it's irrelevant. That's just you have no serenity now. Look up serenity now. Serenity now. Ugh. You have no capacity to do anything about it. So read it, understand it, enjoy it, other people's opinions, and he's quite opinionated and reasonable. He's educated and has the information to make those opinions, but have those opinions. But that's all it is. You can't do anything about it. It doesn't matter. Um, I think often with regard to politics, and my biggest takeaway is what's the threshold for social unrest? So my 2 cents there is don't live in cities. Pretty simple equation. Um, I never lived in a city. I lived in I lived in Queens and Long Island and New York, but not in the city. I was never comfortable with the city, and certainly now I would fucking live in New York City, and it's crazy, absolutely crazy. Get out of cities. Shit. I don't want to be around people. I- it's okay. I'll go to where people are, but when I go home, I want to be away from people. My 2 cents. So if you're having a hard time staying rational, find how to be rational. Your job is to find that path. Hope that helps. Any interest in VE Cake? No, 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 no interest. Simple. Binance Smart Chain, less interest in it as compared to else. So there'd be opportunity cost with exposure to that. Cap, you sound marvelous. Just a little bit tinny today. Yeah, sorry, I got this equipment, and it's the equipment that I'm going to continue to use, but I wish it was better, and maybe one day it will be. Um, Good morning, the advisor in the house. Hello, DCA man, a pleasure. You going to farm RSA? I don't farm much. Yeah, but then again, what the hell am I talking about? DeFi dot money. I'm not moving any capital out of there. That's where I am. I am. At one point, I had like 30% of the liquidity. It was I. Now I think it's down to 10% of the liquidity. But if DeFi dot money does what I expect it to do, which it may not, but in any case, it's stable, and I've deployed stable coins to it, so it's a relatively risk-adjusted position. I will be one of the predominant owners of it. That's my expectation. So, and it costs me nothing other than risk exposure. So that is my most exciting position. DeFi dot money. Pretty simple, huh? I didn't have to buy anything. If you go to monitor, these boys are at $1. between this and Spectra, and obviously it's peg mechanics because it is literally CRVUSD. It is Curve. This is a Curve project. It was asked to be built by Curve. Whether it was funded or not, I don't know. But Michael said, "Hey guys, build this." So this is CRVUSD. So that's why it is what it is. Literally only $292,000 worth of money out there and $1 million worth of liquidity, of which 10% is mine. I will be a predominant owner of this entire protocol if things go according to expectations. I absolutely, um, I find this is just has me just as excited as what the hell Curve's doing. Um, I look forward to seeing their tokenomics, their TGE, token generation event. It's all literally pre-TGE, so I'm the dude with the patience, so I'm gonna exercise that patience and wait for them to execute according to what they wanted to do. Masoon, good morning. Uses FRXUSD and CRVUSD. Yeah, resupply is cool. But you guys know I don't do derivatives and I don't need exposure to it because if it does what it's supposed to do, it's gonna do well for Frax, and it's gonna do well for Curve, which means I'm gonna get more revenue. So yay, resupply, go. I look forward to it. I did break my V Prisma lock, and so obviously whatever the hell left is in there, I'll apply over to resupply. That's about it. Abracadabra is a nice product. I hate that they VPN block US folks, so that's really annoying. No interest, is it? I can't even pull it up because I can't access their website. What is it? Spell. February 26th. They haven't had any posts in quite some time. Oh shit! No, no, no. That okay. So they're swapping it for Sonic. That's the last we heard. I don't know. I don't see anything. Um, I don't see anything accordingly. I don't see anything as to what you're saying, but it is what it is. They have less strength in their implementation as compared to other dollar products. But that is the reason why I don't have exposure to. But they are the most incredibly reliable payer of vote rentals. They've paid weekly, day in day out for years, and that's something that is I hope continues. Totally became unprofitable. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Cal, you said it. You holding the bags. Yeah, but I won. I'm winning. So what is bag holding when you're winning? I don't. I see. I don't understand the rationale. I don't understand the argument. Bag holding, but one of the best investments I have with regard to cash flow. If the books don't lie, I have 3 years worth of QuickBooks, 3 years worth of accounting that say it's an extraordinary cash flow product based on how much it pays. So I think that's a short-sighted argument. It's very typical of someone. I'm not calling you out. It's just typical of someone that takes $100 and wants to turn it into $200. That you're looking for number go up, not investing. So that's what I could offer as a constructive interaction to the thought of bag holding. Um, there's much more to capital management than I think you get at this point. Hope that helps. I like DeFi money shows the interest real time number go up. Um, it, Obviously, we're all in austerity mode. Numbers down across the board. Revenues down, prices are down. But that's the whole point. That's why we look at macroeconomics. We're on the verge of a rejection of this entire. So this is why folks just they don't fucking get it. We're on the verge of a rejection of this entire move. Now, everyone's like, "Oh, it's going up, it's going down." This is literally June of 2022. You're talking about six, 2.5 plus March, 6, 7, 8, 2 years, 8 months. Most people can't process a week of time or a day of time. Oh, shitcoin A is going 10,000%. That's what most people's time frames are. So how do you digest mentally 2 years and 8 months in these couple of candles? This an invalidation here, a rejection here is extraordinary because most folks don't have the high time frame perspective of the dollar and understand really what a dollar is, yet alone that we've been in a dollar bull market since 2008. We've been in a dollar bull market since 2008. So everyone's like, when the Bitcoin's ripping, oh, the dollar's going to go to zero. No, that's not how it works. The dollar's been going up. So during this is the crypto bull markets in 16, 17, and 20 and 21. The bull markets in the crypto space those couple of years ago were in a dollar bullish environment. So this is why I talk the story of the dollar so much. They pay with token inflation. Yeah, I mean, look, Curve pays with token inflation. The locking mechanic is the counterbalance to the token inflation. So, but bear in mind, this is probably why I always say the only reason that Curve is what it is because of the Federation. You guys remember when I talked about the Federation all those years ago? So that is what disrupts circulating supply. So you have the increase in supply associated with the liquidity financing business, and then you have the disruption of supply by the Federation because of the derivatives business. Of which I think is there a net decrease in circulating supply? During a bull market, there'll be a net decrease in circulating supply. So token inflation isn't necessarily a bad thing. What matters is are there mechanics that counterbalance, and are those mechanics successful? And that's most of the time not the case. But just so happens Curve is literally the introducer of liquidity financing. Therefore, the entire federation built around them. So, in that sense, from a crypto fintech perspective, Curve is like the Bitcoin of liquidity financing, the first. Simple as that. Peter, you are one of the most underrated crypto Twitter, YouTube accounts. Value investor mindset in crypto space is essentially non-existent. You have no. Oh yeah, I got zero hopium. I I have the most reasonable expectations. I'm like, if the portfolio goes 10x from here at the Pico top, I'm like, all right, that's cool. I don't care if it goes 10x. I don't care if it goes 100x. What I care about is if it continues to exist. It goes up, it goes down, it goes left, it goes right. That's all that matters, that it exists. Because if it exists, and we're sitting in a market with $1 to $5 trillion worth of dollar liabilities. I mean, we literally have we got the stablecoin bill out of Congress. We got Treasury need to refinance $9 trillion this year or seven, whatever the hell it is. Does it matter once you get past seven? And who's going to buy them? It's the freaking stable coins that are going to buy them. They back this. It's literally what the stable coin bill is. You got to back the stable coins with pristine collateral, and that's how they'll sell dollars around the world. You got Treasury Secretary, was it Peter, whatever his last name is, saying we want to further entrench dollar um, hegemony. And how do you do that? You need to get more dollars out there. So, all right, that means you got to, and we also got fiscal spending. So, all right, let's print the treasuries. Stablecoins buy the treasuries, printing stablecoins, and that's there. There's the dollars, and people want the stablecoins because they bypass the banks and avoid all the fees. So once this gets turned on, it goes from a trill to 5 to 10 really quickly. It it starts out slow and it just goes parabolic. And so what did 280 billion dollars worth of stables or whatever it is here. Let's find it. $228 billion worth of stable coins. And if you notice, it's up and to the right. While everyone's like, is this a cycle over? It's up and to the right. The amount of stable coins that are going to be in the space is going to be absolutely disgusting. So if you're talking about stable coins, then you're talking about the fintech businesses, foreign exchange, credit, derivatives, liquidity financing, and liability printing, because that's where the revenue is. Therefore, those are the dividend instruments, the value instruments, and the cash flow instrument. Hope that helps. I see what most people do in crypto as gambling and speculation, not investing. So many lack the macro, big picture, dollar, weak risk on. Yeah, that's dollar. So, but I expect it to be a little different. There's quite the reason for weakness in US equities for a variety of reasons. But dollar weak, crypto risk on because crypto is not a US market. That's what folks don't understand. Most people aren't even speculating and gambling. It's more primitive than that. Most people don't have a capacity to define why they do what they do. Most, not ironically, but unfortunately, most people are told what to do. So it's one of two things. Most people, we're talking about the majority of people, are either told what to do or don't think about what they're doing and are just flying blind. What was it like 75%? What do I mean by that? Yeah, it was at 75%. So an inner monologue. If you could close your eyes and talk to yourself, the voice in your head, it's called an inner monologue. Um, it's big number. Where was it? It was an article in like 22. Yeah, but this is Reddit. That doesn't mean shit. I wish I could find that article. But the research shows the vast majority of humans don't have an inner monologue. So there's no critical thought. So there's no capacity for a person to ask themselves why I'm doing what I'm doing. Very much more like an instinctual process. It's just things just get regurgitated and just executed. Not robotically. We're still human, but it's less of a critical process of contemplating cause and effect and knock-on effects, ripple effects down the line, consequences. So the vast majority of humans do not have an inner monologue. So therefore, it's not gambling or speculation because they're not like, oh, I want to gamble and I am going to gamble on X, Y, and Z. What are my rules for gambling? So they're not thinking about it in terms of the concept of gambling is what. Now, gambling is trading, but most people aren't gambling nor trading because of trading. You got very smart people. Frankly, gamblers Traders are predators, highly technical, highly intelligent. So, if, I ironically, we've said negative things about gambling, but the professional gamblers in trading, crypto and stocks, highly intelligent, methodical predators. Um, so it is conclusive. I conclude today that the people that are doing what they're doing with meme coins, they're not gambling. 'Cause they can't define gambling. Just to be as blunt as I possibly can without hopefully overstepping my bounds of insulting people. So if you're a gambler or a speculator, maybe rewind to the beginning of the stream with regard to career and never stopping. How do you how do you gamble? How do you trade? What are the rules? How do you how do you gamble without knowing Elliott wave or levels or candlestick patterns or trends? How do you gamble without knowing macroeconomics? It means you're not gambling if you don't know those things. It means you're just flying blind and just acting and reacting based on either what someone else said or with no thought process at all, according to what we're looking at here. No inner monologue. That's no thought process at all. Hope that helps. I don't mean to touch on sensitive topics sometimes. I know there's a lot of people out there. I try and remain as constructive as possible, as politically reasonable as possible, as neutral as possible. Um, and I try and weave that fine line of being able to talk about everything with anyone. And I will always try and do that. I will always be reasonable. And that is not easy. It's very easy for humans to get emotional, reactionary, irrational. And I don't want to be that. So I will continue to pursue excellence in the field of rationality. Self-declared captain of rationality. Thank you all for joining me. Friday, March 14th, 12:51 p.m. 228 people have made it to the end of the stream, and you are all now just a little bit more rational because of it. Calm, cool, collected over the weekend. Find some time, hit a sauna, hit the gym, sit in some sun, do some swimming, walk around the block, meditate, clear your mind, spend time with family, spend time with the wife, spend time with the husband, one of those two. And be well and enjoy your time because we only have so much time. See you guys next week. Peace.